So is it visible enough or do I need to zoom it?
It's visible.
Okay. Guys, if you need me to zoom in, just let me know in the chats. Okay, so let's start. So we all know that data visualization is very important nowadays. You get the data, you form the data, you perform data engineering, and you do everything. But unless and until you can't make that data understand to the laymen, the public, it's not of any use. So you need good skills to visualize that data. So in order to make the data understand, okay. So let's start. So there are many different libraries in different languages available for visualizing the data. But today we are going to discuss the two most used and discussed libraries. That is, first is Matplotlib and the second is Seaborn. So I'll be covering the today's Matplotlib's part. Okay. So let's start with it. Okay. So first, we'll start with defining the libraries in Colab. Okay. So as you can see here, the library is Matplotlib. Okay. And the module in Matplotlib that is used to plot everything is known as PyPlot. Okay, so from Matplotlib, we are going to import the PyPlot and we're going to give it the name, the pseudonym as PLT. So we are going to refer this pseudonym PLT everywhere today for referring to the plotting using Matplotlib. Now, you must be wondering that I've used this line here, that percentage matplotlib inline. So what this is it's a magic command that is used in notebooks. If you're using Jupyter Notebook, if you're using Colab. So when you use Matplotlib in IDEs, what it does is for plotting purpose, it opens a new window where you can see those plots. But in notebook you are using you are writing codes, and if you want to see the plots below only, you want to interact them there and there. So what you have to do is you have to use this command and you have to run it just one time in your notebook. So what it will do is that further, if you plot anything, it will show it there and there below the command. So by default nowadays, Jupyter and Colabs already use this matplotlib inline command by default. So even if you don't use it, you will see the plottings as we want. So and just if you are wondering that if it is not showing properly, it's opening a new window and you want to set, you can use this command, this magic command. Okay. And we also import the NumPy for our data purposes. Okay, so let's start with plotting. So first, if you want to plot anything, you get a figure, you get an area where everything is done. Every plotting, everything, the data, that text that you, everything that you see is done in an area. Now this area is known as the figure. So if you want to define the figure, so there is a command that plt.figure, and the whole white box that you see here is known as the figure of this matplotlib that you define here. Okay, and axis, that plt.axis is a command to define the axis. Now axis is the thing in which every plotting is done. Okay, so this black area that you are seeing here, the axis, that this square and in which the plotting is going to be done, is known as the axis of this figure. So if you just want to start with seeing the figure and you want to start seeing the axis, then you can use these commands. For figure, it is plt.figure, and for axis, it is plt.axis. Okay, so it's run here. You can see here, by default, it will create a 1x1 box. This is the figure and axis. Okay, now we start with plotting. Okay, so we have created a figure, we have created the axes. So let's start with just simple plotting. So I will use this NumPy array. I will take 1,000 numbers between 0 and 10, equally spaced numbers, and I want to plot the sine function for it. You know, so basically what we are going to do is we create a NumPy array called x. We pass 1,000 equally spaced variables between 0 and 10, and then to plot that data, we use the plot function. Okay, so as I said earlier, that axis, this black box, is where every plotting is done. So we use that we have stored these axes in variable ax. So we use ax.plot. Plot is the command in matplotlib used to plot anything that you want. So in that, using that axis, in that axis we do ax.plot, then we pass our data. So for it's a 2D plot. Okay, so you pass the x data and you pass the y data to plot. So first, what you do is you pass the x data that you want to show on the x-axis. So as you can see here, I have passed this NumPy array called x, which will be those 1,000 numbers between 0 and 10. As you can see here, between 0 and 10, it's on the x-axis, and on the y-axis, I want to plot the sine function on that data. So we'll use the sine function in NumPy to plot the sine values of that data. So on the x-axis, it's the x values, and on the y-axis, it's the sine values for the corresponding data. And if we run it, we get this plot. So as you can see, it starts from 0, 0. Then it reaches here. It's the value pi by 2. So what you're seeing here is values in radians. And this is the value of 1, where the value of sine is 1. So this is pi by 2. This is the value pi around 3.14. Okay. So this has given us a plot of sine x. Here x-axis has the data x and y-axis has the data of sine function. Okay, so this is the simple plot. You use the plot function on the axis that you have defined. Okay. So just now we saw that we used axes to plot. So if you are creating, generally if you are doing multiple plots, you are creating, you want to do some edits to that plot. You want to make it fancy. So you have to store that plot in a variable that we did earlier here in figure and ax. So if you want to further do any changes to that, you refer this variable ax and then you do the changes to that plot. But I'm just doing some regular visualization. I want to do it for my purpose. I just want to plot a simple plot. So you can use directly that PLT pseudonym that we defined earlier here. We imported pyplot as PLT. So you can use that PLT only, and you can use that same plot command here, that plt.plot, and you can pass the data. Okay. So if you run this command, what it will do is, so just you can use ax.plot or you can use plt.plot to plot. So what it will do is it will just uh, plot the basic data on a single figure. Now, this is plotting a single thing. If you want to plot multiple things on the same figure, that I've got two types of data that I want to show, the trend on a single canvas. So you can call this plot function multiple times. As you can see here, I'm calling the plot function first for the sine function. I'm passing the x values, the same array, NumPy array. Then for y, I'm passing the sine function on that NumPy array. And for the other plot, I'm passing the cosine function. So as you can see here, it has created the sine curve and the cosine curve simultaneously on that same data, on that same canvas. So if you call this plot function multiple times, you can plot different things on that same figure. Okay. So that is the basic plotting. Now, if you are considering that Here you can see that we plotted two different things. Okay, and if you want to, you don't know what which plot depicts what. So we do formatting. We use different colors. We use different names. We use different line styles to know to distinguish that this represents this. Okay, so now we'll see how to change the colors of those lines. So use simple this plot function. You pass the data. I pass the array. I'll pass the sign function. Okay. So just to distinguish different colors and different methods, I'll pass the values in that sign function as x minus 0 and to distinguish the different lines. Okay. So in that function, plot function, there's a variable, there's an argument called color. And in that color, you can pass whatever color that you want to show. So one option is that you can specify the color by name. So if you mention colors blue, gray, yellow, it will show you, it will give you that color. Then there is also a short color codes for that. The codes are RGB, CMYK. That's red, green, blue, cyan, magenta, yellow, and K is for black. So you can just pass a short color code and it will give you color for that also. So as you can see here, first we have passed the blue color. It has given us the blue line. Then we have passed the short form as G. So it has given us green color. Then there is also grayscale. So in grayscale, you have to pass a value from 0 to 1. So according to that value, according to that darkness on grayscale, it will give you the color. So point for 0.75, this is the color. Then you can, if there are some fancy shades that you want to use, then you can search on the internet for the for the hex code of that color, and you can mention the hex code, and according to that shade it will give you the color. So for this hex code, that is the this shade of yellow, and we've got it. Then there is RGB tuple. If you are a bit of master in using these colors, and if you want to give a color according to the RGB values, then you can pass a tuple, and in that from 0 to 1 you can pass the values for R, G, and B. So between 0 to 1, you can pass the values and it will give you the color. Also, it supports HTML colors, and you can just mention the color name here and it will give you the color. So this is how you give colors to your plots. It's just simple. In the plot function, pass the data, and for color, you can pass anything and as you like the color. Now we can also change the style of that plot, the line that we see. Same goes for here. As you can see, you pass the first x data, then you pass the y-axis data. I'm just passing x plus 0, so that's the line. And for the line style, you mention the argument as line style equal to, and then there are multiple styles that you can use. So the by default, you get the solid line. So as you can see here, this blue line that you see, this is the dash, this is the solid line that you get by default if you don't mention anything. Then there is a dashed line, as you can see here, this orange one. Then there is dash dot line. Then there's also dotted line. So you can mention the string values in here, and you will get these lines accordingly. Also, there is a different option that if you don't want to mention the string and you just want to mention the codes for that line, then they are also available. A simple hyphen means a solid line. A double hyphen means dash line. A dash and dot means the dash dot line, and a colon means the dotted line. So as you can see here, according to the codes also, you can change the line style. So I've even shared the notebook with you. So if you want to explore these side by side, then you can also do that. Now we saw changing color and style are differently. But if you want to do that simultaneously, you can also do that by using the code. Okay. So you can just mention the code of the line style that you want to choose, and along with that, you can mention the color code of that line that you want to see. So first, I want to see the normal line, the solid line of green color. So I passed dash and G for that solid green line. Then accordingly, you can pass any style and any color code that you want, and you'll get the style and the color accordingly. So it's that simple with Matplotlib. Now we saw that how to change the color, how to change the style of the plot. Now you can also change the axes, the limits of the axes of the plot. How much you want to show the axis, how much the limit should be. So it's just two simple functions. One is for x limit, another one is for y limit. So you just call plt dot x limit for setting the x-axis limits. Okay. So here, as you can see, if I run this, you have to just pass two values. One is the left value, one is the right value from where you want to start and where you want to end. So here it will start from -1 and end with 11 on the x-axis. Similarly, for y-axis, you have to start with bottom and you have to end with the top part. So it will start from -1.5 and it will end with 1.5. So as you can see here, the limits of the axis has changed. So by default, if you don't mention the limits, Matplotlib will assign the limits according to your plot. The necessary, the limits that you want, it will assign it automatically. But suppose if you want to define the limits yourself, you can do it using xlim and ylim. Now, suppose if you want to reverse the order of the axes, so you can use those same functions and you have to just reverse the order of the arguments that you pass. So first we started with left and right. We passed bottom and top. So from where you start and where you end, that you are mentioned. So you can just change the order. You can reverse that order in the function, and accordingly, the axis also will be changed. So here I have passed 10 and 10 comma 0. So it will start from 10 and end with 0, and the axis will change accordingly. So this is how you reverse the axis. Also, if you don't want to use different functions again and again, uh, Matplotlib has a function called axis, AXIS, and in that you have to pass a list of 4 values. And just using this function, just using one list, you can mention all 4 values, as you can see here. I want to start the x-axis from -1. I want to end it at 15. I want to start the y-axis at -1.5, and I want to end it at 1.5. As you can see here, this will be the list that you mention in that function, and it will set the axis accordingly. Okay. So this is how you change it. Now, suppose if you want that the access limits that you get should be just enough that you require. So then in that same access function, you can pass a string called tight. So what it will do is it will remove all the extra spacing and it will just give you the limits of the both axes that is just enough and that is required. So as you can see here, before we pass the values at -1 to 15, and here as you can see, this is extra space. And if you use the tight function, tight string in their axis function, it will give you tight bounds on those axes. And there is also another option called equal. So if you want that, you want to maintain the aspect ratio of the both the axes as 1:1, then you can pass the string as equal, and as you can see here that 1 unit of x-axis and 1 unit of y-axis will have the same values. Okay, so as you can see here, this was a tight bound, and if you change it to equal, then it gets a bit crammed up from the y-axis because both the axes are now equal. Now we have plotted the data, we have changed the style and color. We have also seen that how you want to change the limits of the axis. Now, labeling the plot. What the plot is about, at what axis, what the data represents. Then there are just simple functions. You don't have to remember the names because the names are just that if you want to give the title, then you can call plt.title. And that you can mention the string that what should be the title and it will be visible above the plot. So I've given the title as a sine curve and it is shown here. Then plt.x label that what my x-axis is representing. So I mentioned here that it is the x as x values. As you can see, now if I run it, as you can see, it has changed to x values. So if you want to change the x label, you can use the plt.x label. Same goes for the y label. And it will show it that this is the axis which represents the sine value of those x values. So this is that much simple in Matplotlib. Okay. Now we have seen that we have given the labels to those both the axes, and we also saw that if we are plotting different things in the same figure, then how to distinguish that. Now we have also assigned different line styles and different colors, but still if we want to see that what are those representing, then comes the legend. Okay. If we are doing plotting in maths and everything, you everyone knows that we mention a legend in the top or anywhere that you want, which shows that what which plot is representing what. So while you are plotting and you mention the data, you mention the line, color, and style, there is one argument which is known as label. So in that label, you mention what this plot should represent. That in legend, what this plot should show. What this plot is about. So I have plotted this sign values of this x values. Now I mentioned the label that this plot which I'm plotting is the sign value of this x. And accordingly, in the cos plot, I have mentioned that this plot represents the cosine value. And just one thing to remember that when you want to show the legend in Matplotlib, you have to call the function plt.legend. Okay, you don't have to pass anything right now, just to show it. Because if you don't mention this line, if you don't run this line, then it won't show you the legend. Okay, so if you run it here, as you can see, you got a legend where it shows that this normal green line shows the sine curve and this dotted blue line shows the cos curve. So this is how you show a legend. You just have to mention the label that in the legend what it should show, what this plot should show, and you have to use the legend function to show it. Now, the thing is that earlier we saw that we can use either axis function and figure function to create a plot and then use use those variables to plot, or you can use directly PLT to plot. So the difference is that PLT is used to just plot if you want to plot a single thing and you don't want to plot multiple things in the same figure. But if you are doing multiple plotting in the same figure, then you use AX to store, to reference that later. So if you are using PLT, then the functions are simple, plt.x label, plt.y label. But if you are using the axes method and using that AX variable to further reference and plot, then the function are changed a bit. You just have to add the set underscore in front of that name. So if you want to set the X label for those axes, then you use ax dot set X label. For X limit and Y limit also, you have to mention that set underscore. Now the basic commands of plotting, that plt dot plot is same as ax dot plot. Same goes for the legend. If you are using axes, then you can use ax dot legend. But for these functions, that set title, limits, labels, that are different in single plot and multiple plots. Okay, in multiple plots, there are different axes for one figure. If there are two figures in one figure, So you have to use that set x label, set y label for those. So you just have to keep this in mind for PLT and EX. Now we'll see our scatter plots. The plot that we saw earlier is a simple line plot. If we pass the data, it will plot the data. It will connect all those data with a line, as known as a simple line plot. Then there comes scatter plots. Scatter plots are basically where the data is plotted, but those data are not connected with a line. Okay, so if you remember, we have mentioned in the NumPy array, there are 100 numbers, 100 values, and we have plotted that, but it has given us a continuous line. Between those data, there is nothing we have plotted, but it has given us a line. That is a line plot. In scatter plot, it just plots those points and it doesn't connect them. It is just a collection of points that is plotted on the canvas. So that is a scatter plot. Now you can also do scatter plots with simple plt.plot. Okay. If you remember that we mentioned the line styles, codes for those line styles. Okay. If I mention double dash here, and if I run this command, I'm just plotting 30 points with the sine values. Okay. So as you can see here, this is a simple line plot of sine function from 0 to 10 radians. Okay. But this is a line plot and I want a scatter plot. Scatter plot, it should not connect those values. So you have to mention different symbols. So there are markers. The points that you see in a scatter plot are known as markers. So there are different values for markers. If you refer the documentation of Matplotlib and if you search for different markers available, then you will see that, as you can see here, we have taken 30 points from 0 to 10, equally spaced, and we have plotted sine values. So as you can see here, there is not a line, but those points have been plotted here. If there are different values possible. If I mention H here, it will plot hexagons for those markers. If I mention a caret value here, then it will give me triangles as markers. So this is how you scatter plot using simple plt.plot. And I mentioned the color black. So as you can see here, every marker has black color. Okay. So this is using plt.plot. And if I mention here the style as dash O, and I have mentioned a K as black color. If I change it to green, if I plot it, as you can see here, I will get a line plot where the points are connected, the markers are connected. Okay. So this is a line plot. This is not a scatter plot. The scatter plot is that we are seeing here. The collection of point is just plotted. Now you will be wondering that there is a different function for scatter plot. So if we can use that plt.plot function to do scatter plotting, then why is there a need? So in scatter plot, what the thing is that when you are plotting, the each point that you see here, its property can be changed in scatter plot. If as you have seen here, I mentioned the color black. If I change it to red, what it will give me is every marker will be changed to red color. But that is not the thing in scatter plot. In scatter plot, every single point that you see here, every the property of every single point can be changed. So in scatter plot, you can use the function as scatter, plt.scatter. Same is the convention. You pass the x data, you pass the y data, and the marker that you want to see here. So I'll mention the caret symbol, and I will get the triangle as marker. So this is using the scatter method. Okay. Now, as I discussed earlier, uh, in scatterplot, every point can change that data, its properties. So let me do a scatter plot where every point has different color, every point has different size. So I'll just declare a colors list where I'll pass a RGB tuple of random values, random RGB values. Also create a list of size in which I'll pass random size values, okay, from 0 to 100. And then what I'll do is I'll call the scatter plot with X data, Y data, and in that I will mention the color argument, and I'll give the colors list to that color argument. I am setting the marker as usual, the circle, and S is the argument for mentioning the size. So I'll pass the size list to this. Okay, so I've created just random values of RGB tuples and random sizes, and I'm passing those list. So if I run it, as you can see, according to those values, the color of each and every point has changed. If you use plot function plt.plot, then you have to just mention a single color and the colors of all the points will be same. But here you can pass list of colors, you can pass list of size, and it will change. So I've mentioned the random values again. So if I run it again, as you can see, I'll get different colors, random colors of different sizes. So this is the scatter plot. So this is the difference between using scatter and plot function for scatter plotting. Now we'll see histograms. Okay. I hope everyone is familiar with histograms. Histograms are a kind of plot which show you the how much data is available in this range. That how much data is lying in this range. What is the frequency of this range? How many datas are present in this range? So I'll just create a list of data of which will give me a sample from the normal distribution. And I will just use the function hist to plot a histogram. And in histogram, you just pass data of single dimension. Histogram shows you that what is the frequency of this range, that in this range, how many data are present. So you'll pass just a list or any iterable in here, and you'll get this. This is the histogram. Okay, so the thing is that if you have seen the normal distribution, you get normalized data. I got a sample where the data is from around -3 to 3. And in that, this shows me that from 0 to around 0.5, I've got about 250 data between that range. Simply for around a -0.820, I've got around more than just a bit more than 200 data. So this is the histogram that you plot using the hist function. Now you can change so many different things about this histogram function. You can change the manner, you can change in how you want to see the data. Okay. So the main thing that you pass is the data. Okay. So you pass the iterable list, tuple, whatever it is, you pass the data. And one other, argument is bins. Now, what bins is? Bins depicts that the data that you have passed, you want to divide the data in how many ranges. Okay. So by default, it will take the ranges according to the range of your data. But as you can see here, I've passed the value 25 in bins. So what it has done is it has divided my whole data from -3 to 3 in 25 ranges. As you can see here, there will be 25 steps in the histogram. If I mention it as just 10, and if I run it, as you can see here, that number of steps has reduced because it has divided in my data in 10 bins. So if you mention 30, you mention more, then as you can see here, the steps will be increased. Then you can mention different formatting things like alpha means how much transparent your histogram is. If you mention zero point 0.8, then it will give you a darker color. Then this is the histogram type. There are different types of histogram. These are the four kinds. You can get a bar chart, a bar step, or step field. Here we have taken the step field. It's a histogram, step chart, and it has a field with color steel blue, and the edge color means the line that the edge that you see. So these are the different formatting things that you can also search in the documentation. You can plot a simple histogram like that. Now you have different data, and you want to plot those single all those data in a single canvas, and you want to see them in different way. So here I've taken three lists of different samples of that distribution, of normal distribution. Then if you're fed up of mentioning those formatting arguments again and again, then you can just create a dictionary called a quags, and you can pass what should the arguments of all those histograms should be. So I want all of those histograms to be step filled. I want the transparency level to be zero point 0.4, and I want the data in everything to be divided in range of 40. So I want 40 steps in everything. So I'll just call the histogram function again and again. So remember that if you want to if you want to plot different things on the same canvas, then you can call the plotting function again and again, and it will plot that data for you using different colors. It will cycle through the colors automatically. You don't have to mention anything. So I've just plotted x1, x2, x3, as you can see here. Uh, they are the color is automatically changed, and as you can see here, I've got different histograms and with all the same properties. So this is how we plot histograms. Now, this is all about plotting. Now you can also customize different things according to what you like, how you want to show that legend, how you want to show your legend. How do you we saw earlier that we can change the color, we can change the line style, you can change the axis limits. Okay, now you can even change the legend that you see here. This is the legend, and you can even change this also. So will simply plot the sine and cosine values. And if you call, remember that you have to mention that function legend. As you can see, we have used the axis function, axis variable, because we are going to now plot multiple things. So I've assigned this plt.subplot to this ax variable. And now if anything, I want to change anything on this plot, if I want to plot, if I want to change anything, then I will refer this ax variable, which has my axes, which references to this black box. So I have called ax.legend, and only after calling this line, you'll get this legend. Or else, if you even mention this, and if you don't mention this line, then you won't get the legend. So this is how that legend looks by default in Matplotlib. Now you can change it too. You can change the location of this legend. Where do you want to show this legend? If you want to show the frame around it, if you want to change the color of this legend. Okay, so here, if you mention that ax.legend, location is the parameter where you mention that where do you want to show this legend. So I mentioned here upper left. So by default, it has given me here. So I have changed the location from that to upper left. Frame on is the variable which allows you to enable or disable the frame. So I hope if you can see the frame here, it's very light. By default, the frame is on. You can change it if you don't want to see it. I've changed the face color here. Face color is the color for the frame, so it is visible for you. If I change this variable to false, and if I run it, as you can see here, the frame is gone. So this is how you change the frame on variable. Now, as you can see here, by default, it has given you two variables stacked on below each other in different rows. If I want to show both those in a single row, but I want to show them in different columns, then you have a variable called ncol, and you can mention that how many columns you want to show your legend. So by default, it is one column. So and no matter how many plots you plot, you will get everything in a single column. But if you mention ncol as two, then you'll get all the whole legend in two columns. Okay, so these are just the attributes that you can find in the documentation also. Now there is also fancy box, that if you want the box and of the legend to be fancy, so you have to set it true. You can set the transparency, you can change the shadow, you can change the border padding that you can see here. Okay, you can change every single thing, because this is all about visualization, and in visualization you have the freedom to change every single thing. So you can also explore the plt.legend docstring, and you can see that what things that you can change. Then we further move on to subplots. Now subplots are, if you want to plot different figures in a single canvas, then you can use the subplots. You can create subplots by yourself using plt.axis that we saw earlier. That you use, if you use plt.axis and you pass that to a variable, what it will do is it will create a figure of by default 1 cross 1, and it will be assigned to ax1 called, this is my variable. But I want another plot in that same figure, in that same canvas, and that should be small. Then you can mention it as, you can mention that plt.axis another time. You can call that function another time, and you have to pass a list in that. It will contain 4 values. The first 2 values will be the start point. That this, as you can see here, this is the 0, 0 point. It is the start point. If you don't mention anything, by default it will start from 0, 0, and it will take the whole canvas. As you can see here, ax1 has taken the whole canvas. But if you mention as points of starting points as 0.65, 0.65, then from x-axis it will take 0.65, and from y-axis it will take 0.65, and this is the starting point of my new subplot. So first 2 parameters are the starting point, and the rest 2 parameters, that from that starting point how much I want to extend it. So from 0.65 I want to further 0.2, that is for the x-axis. That from 0.65 I want to further take it to 0.2 units. So 0.65 plus 0.2, it will be 0.85. So as you can see here, from the starting point, it has taken that from x-axis to further zero point 0.2 units, and for the same goes for the y-axis, and it has taken this from here to 0.2. So this is how you create multiple subplots, from by your hand. Here you can mention the starting point. You can mention how much you want to take it further. Then you can also use this figure command, and you can use the function add axis to create the same plotting. Okay, here we use the axis function directly. But if you are creating a figure and then in that figure you want to create the plots, then you can use figure.addAxis. So these are just different versions, different functions to do the same thing. Okay, so in that also same we pass 4 values in the list. As you can see here, we have started one of the plots from 0.1 on x-axis to from and zero point 0.5 on y-axis. So this is the first plot where it has started 0.1, 0.5, and it has taken this much area, and this one starts from 0.1, 0.1. So this is that. And along with that, if you want to mention that the limits, the x-axis limits, y-axis limits, you can also mention that accordingly in that same bracket. As you can see here, I've passed the y limits from minus 1.2 to 1.2, and that will be followed here. So as you can see, I just used a simple plot function to plot in those. Now, as discussed earlier, we have used AX variable to store the axis. Now, this is where we use that variable. For previously, we used plt.plot to plot everything on that canvas. But here we have created now 2 plots. This both subplots. Now, if we can't use the plt.plot because plt.plot is for plotting anything on the canvas, on a single canvas, in a single figure. But we have created subplots, and those subplots are referred by these variables ax1 and ax2. So now this is my ax1 figure, this is my ax2 figure or axes. These are the boxes, and boxes are called axes. So I want to plot the sine curve in my ax1 plot, and I want to plot the cos function in the ax2 plot. So I will refer ax1.plot, and I will pass the data that I want to plot, and ax2.plot, and pass the data that you want to plot here. So this is where you use that variables, that reference that you create to the axis. So majorly it is used for subplots only, or if you create a single plot, then everyone uses plt.plot only. So I hope you are clear why we create a reference variable for those axes. And it's because we use those variables to reference those axes. And if you want to make anything change in those axes, then we refer using that. So if you want to create a legend now in this one, so you use ax1.legend. If you want to set anything x limits, then you use ax1 dot set x limits. Okay, so you also have to remember that now we are using ax1 and ax2 variables, and here we have to use that set underscore x limit, set underscore y limits. So these are the subplots that you can create with yourself. Then there is function in PLT called subplot to create a subplot automatically. You just have to mention the grid. Okay, in the canvas, you can create a subplot of a grid. You just have to mention the grid in that plt.subplot, and there will be three arguments. The first two arguments depict that in that figure, what should be the uh, what should be the grid. That two means that two rows should be there, and in that figure there should be three columns. So as you can see here, it has created uh, 2 cross 3 grid of plots, and the third parameter that you see here, this using this you select that in this grid which plot that you want to use. So as you can see, I used a for loop that in the range 1 to 6, that numbering starts from this, that this is the first, this is the second, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth. If I just want first two these plots, then I just have to mention 1 comma 3, and if I use plt.subplot, so as you can see in that 2 cross 3 grid, I've just taken first two plots. If I mention here 5, then I'll get first four plots. Okay, so in the 2 cross 3 grid, I've taken in from the for loop first, second, third, and the fourth. So accordingly, you just have to mention that plt.subplot. You have to mention that what kind of grid that you want, and in that grid, which plot that you want, and it will give you. Okay, so this is how you create the subplots automatically using the subplot function. Now, this is how you create subplots one by one. Okay, you won't. We have used the for loop here, and because of that, we have gotten all four. But if we just call this command standalone, just using one time, then it will just give us one of the plots that you mentioned here from this whole grid. But if you want to get the whole grid in one go, then you can use the plt.subplots. Okay, there are two functions you have to remember. One is subplot and one is subplots. So if plt.subplots, same, you have to mention the grid. You don't have to mention the third parameter, because in plt.subplots you get the whole grid. But another thing in this plt.subplots is there are this share x and share y. So as you can see here, when we create plots using subplot, we get this whole grid here. And as you can see, it is very much congested. But the thing is that the values that this share, okay, these are the same, as you can see, as 0 to 1 and 0 to 1. Okay, these are having equal axes. So there is no point of making this congested. So what I want is, I don't want to show this line here. I just want to use the below line for below axis for these same rows only. And for that, they have given the option of share x and share y, which means that what x-axis should share and what y should share. So I mentioned here that columns that you share here, that you see here, columns. These columns should share the y, this columns should share the x-axis. So in this first column, both are sharing this one common x-axis. The second column is sharing this one, and the third column is sharing this one. And my rows should be sharing the y-axis. Okay, so this first row is sharing this column, this axis, and the second row is sharing this axis. So this is all. And now we have created the subplots, but we want to actually plot some data in those subplots. So now as we saw earlier, we used plt.plot because we were using only a single plot, a single figure, but we have created subplots. So as you can see here, we have passed this in figure comma axis. Now figure variable will store the figure attributes, that is the whole white canvas, and the ax variable stores the axes values that you see those black box in which plotting is done. So as you can see here, we have created a 2x3 grid. So you can use that ax variable to reference those subplots. Now, as it is a 2x3 grid, you have to mention that in which row and which column you want to create the subplot. So I mentioned here 0. In the 0th row, I want the second column. So this is the box that I have selected, ax of 0 and 2. And in that, I want to plot something. This is the random data that I have taken. And if I run it, then you can see here in the 0th row and the second column, I have plotted something. Okay, if I mention it as 1, then in the first row, second column, it should plot that data. Okay, as you can see here. So this is why you use the reference variable ax everywhere when you do subplots. That we have created subplots, but in those subplots, in which one we want to plot something. So in these subplots, you can use ax of, and you can mention the row, column, and you can use all the functions using plotting. You can choose legend, you can choose the line style. All of this you have to refer using this ax and whichever the grid you choose. Now, if you use subplot and subplots, what you get is, all those, if you see axes, they are having similar dimensions. But sometimes it happens that if you want subplots but of different dimensions, so you use another function called grid spec. The grid spec has the same values. You define a grid. Okay. You can also mention that if you want some padding between those subplots, if you want to have vertical space, horizontal space, you can mention the padding here. Now, earlier, we used the subplots and we stored it into the figure and axes. This is the by default that is available. But if you use grid spec, you have to pass that into a single variable called grid. So here also we have created the same 2x3 grid. But here you can use that grid to manipulate in the way that you want. Here you don't have to by default access that uh, subplots of single, same dimensions. Here you can do plt.subplot, and in that grid you can mention that out of that grid how many you want to use in a same subplot. So if you mention 0,0, then that's the first plot that you get. Now in the same row, I want these in the grid, the second and the third column to be merged. Then I will mention in the 0th row, from the first position to the end, I want everything to be combined in the single subplot. Okay. So as you can see here, we have got a 0,0, and in the 0th row, the from first column to the end, we have got two plots and they have been combined. Same if you do this for the row one. If you start from starting to, I want two values, two plots to be combined, then it has combined it. Okay, using this grid. So this is how you manipulate the grid that you create into getting how many plots that you want combined. Now we have created the grid, but If you want to actually plot something in that grid, if you, in that subplot, if you want to manipulate something in that subplot, then you have to mention that subplot to a variable. You have to reference that to a variable, and using that variable, you can plot anything. Okay, so I've given this grid, this a variable, and from a, if I do a dot plot, then in that grid, I will do some plotting. Okay, so this is how you do subplotting. You can also mention text in that figure. Okay, we have plotted, we have seen legend, we have seen labels, we have seen titles. But if you want to, mention some text in that figure, in that canvas, you can also do that. So we'll just take a simple plt.figure, plt.axis to create a simple by default figure. Then for text, it's just easy. Plt.text, a simple command. Then you mention the starting position, the x and y coordinates from where the text that you want to show should start. Okay, so I want to start my text from point 1 comma point 1. So from this where my text will start. Then you pass the string what you want to show. So I have passed the string that this is text, and as you can see here, it has shown me the text. You can also change different parameters of this text. You can change the font size, you can change the font color, you can change the font style. Okay, if I change it to no italic, if I run it, then it has changed the font style to italic, and by this you can mention the text. Okay, now also one thing that you can see here, that anything that I'm running here last in the notebooks, it shows me that what I have run last. If I just mention a semicolon here, and if I run it, then it won't show me that, and it will just show me the canvas. So by just using this plt.text command, mentioning the start position of your text, mention the string that you want to pass, and if you refer the documentation of this, if you go and search plt text documentation, it will show you that there are numerous arguments that you can use you can shape your text. You can do pretty much anything. So you can explore that by yourself according to whatever you want. Now let's explore text. The text that you see here, just a minute. I'm taking 50 numbers from 0 to 2 pi, and I'm plotting that I'm plotting sine function over that data. As you can see here, I got a sine curve. Here is my data that it ranges from -1 to 1. And here, as you can see here, it has mentioned. Now I have taken the data from 0 to 2 pi, and I have taken 50 values between that. Now 2 pi, pi value is 3.14 as we know. And if you do 2 pi, then it's just a bit more than 6. Okay. So it has shown that because in plotting we have passed the value x value. We use np.pi to show the pi value, but that the thing that is passed is the pi value only. 3.14 is passed. So it has given us values from 0 to 6. Now this doesn't show me anything. I don't want to see 0 to 6 values in sine curve. What I want to see is I want to see the 0 value, the pi value, the 2 pi value. Where is the pi value? Where is the 2 pi value? And where it is the data of that value. So there comes the text. So the text that you see here in the axes, these are called text. These are called x text, and these are called y text. Okay, so on the x-axis, I want to see the values 0, pi, and 2 pi only. I don't want to see these, and I don't want to see numbers. I want to see pi. So for that, we have a function called xtext. So remember that we have used plt.xtext because we are using plt for plotting on the single canvas. If you are using ax, then you have to use ax.set xtext, ax.set ytext. Okay, I just want to change the x values, so I will use xtext. Okay, and in that you can mention two things. One is that text. what text shows that at which values you want to show. Okay, so you can pass us if you want to show different things, then you have to pass a iterable, a list or a set or a tuple, of those values where you want to show, at which values you want to show. So as I told you earlier that I want to show the values at zero value, I want to see the pi value, and I want to see the 2 pi value. So I passed here 0 np dot pi and 2 times np dot pi. So what it will depict is 3.15 and 2 times 2 into 3.15, 0, pi, and 2 pi. So first you have to pass at which values you want to show those ticks. Okay. So if I just do that, okay, I just do this. So as you can see here, we've got the text as 0, 3.14, and 6.28. So these are the values 0, pi, and 2 pi. Okay. Now these are the numerical values. As I said earlier, that we are using np.pi, but it is passing the numerical values to it. And what this is what exactly it has shown us. But I want to also show label according to that. I don't want to show the value. I want to show that this is the pi value. If you want to, and that is known as labels. We just do here. Okay, I have taken a list. Okay, so the number of text that you represent, that many data that you have to create in a list. I have created a list called labels. You can create a list of any name and you can pass here. So what I'm passing that at zero value, I want to show zero only. At pi value, I want to show this value. Now in Python, you have to use regular expression to show. The pi symbol is not available by default on your keyboard and everything. So you have to use the regular expression. This is the notation to denote the pi symbol. Okay. So I'm using that at zero value, I want to show zero. At pi value, I want to show pi symbol, and at 2 pi, I want to show the 2 pi symbol, and I will pass that label string in this xtext function. Now, as you can see, I've got 0, pi, and 2 pi. Okay, so these three are my ticks on x-axis, that is x ticks. These are the three ticks, and these that you can see here are the labels for those ticks. Okay, you can pass anything. So if I just remove the regular expression, if I just write the string pi, and if I run it again, then as you can see, the pi symbol is gone, and the string that I have mentioned here, pi, as shown here. Okay, so this is how you change the text as you like. So here I have changed the x text, and similarly you can change the these y text too. You can just mention plt.y text. You can mention the values that you want to see, and if you want to show some label for that, you want to show some string for that as you like, then you can pass the no, an iterable for those labels also. So this is how you change text. Now we have pretty much covered everything in Matplotlib. So let's see that styles that are available different, the different styles that are available in Matplotlib. Okay, so when you by default just plot anything, this is how you get the plot in Matplotlib. Okay, this is the simple white background, black axis, and first the plotting will start with blue, and if you do multiple plots in that same, then it will change the colors. It will cycle through colors accordingly automatically. You don't have to do anything. This is how it looks by default. Now let's admit that it looks a bit basic, very basic, and I want to show it in a more fancy way. I want to show it in a different way. I want to use different styles. Then yes, you can do that because this is plotting. As I said earlier, you can pretty much change anything from visual to anything that you like. You can rotate it, you can change the color, you can change stylings and everything. So in Matplotlib, you've got module for RC params. You can these are the RC params which define the default parameters that Matplotlib uses to plot. So these RC params, the parameters, are by default present, and the values, they have the values that are used for plotting. and you can change those default values only. And if you change the default values, then whenever you plot again in that notebook or in that ID or anything, the values that you define, the new values, they will be used for plotting. Okay. So as we saw earlier, if we do multiple plotting, Matplotlib changes the color automatically. Okay, you don't have to mention anything. It will change the color automatically. And the same thing that I want is that from now onwards, if Matplotlib changes those colors automatically, I want those colors to be different. I don't want those basic colors. So for making that cycler, that Matplotlib make that Matplotlib to cycle through colors, you have to import Matplotlib. From that Matplotlib, you have to import the cycler module, and you have to define a list of colors, a cycler, and you have to mention color that you want to cycle through colors. And with that, you have to mention a list of colors from which you want to cycle. So first, if I plot anything, by default, the color this would be used. Okay, I have passed some hex strings. You can also pass colors as we saw earlier. So these are the some six values that I have by default defined. And if I go on plotting, if I do second plot, then it will use this color. Third plot will use this color. So this is how I defined that I want Matplotlib to cycle through these colors. Okay. Now using plt.rc, okay, as we saw here, RC parameters. Using plt.rc, you can change those default values. Now I want to change the parameters of these axes, the black box that we see here. I want to change the parameters of that axis. I want the face color to change. Okay, face color is the box that you see here. As you can see here, blue. I mentioned the hex value for that blue color, and it has changed the face color. Okay, from white it has changed the axis face color to blue. Edge color. Edge color is the color of this edges of the box, the axes. Okay, then by default, if you see here, there is no grid. Okay, there is no grid on x axis and y axis. And if I set grid equal to true, it will give me grid automatically. And top cycle, it is a parameter for cycling through colors. Okay, so which the cycler that we have defined here earlier, the six colors that from which I want Matplotlib to cycle through. So that is what crop cycle defines, that from now onwards, you have to cycle through these six colors that I have defined. Then in the grid, I want to change the grid color. I want to change the transparency level. I want to change the line style of grid. And same goes for the X text and Y text. So by default, this is how the text look, simple black. Okay. And I want now the text to show in gray color. I want the text to be direction should be out, not inside the axis. It should be out. So using plt.rc, you have to mention that which parameter you want to change, and you can see in the documentation of that which are the parameters available that you can change. And if you do it, and if you plot the same histogram as you saw earlier, okay. Now in the histogram function, you haven't passed any parameter. If you pass any parameter to change color and everything, it will change colors. But here, as you can see, we haven't passed anything in the histogram function. We have changed, what we have done is we have changed the default RC parameters that Matplotlib uses to plot something. We have changed the default parameters. As you can see here, this is now how it looks. Okay, so now again, if I run this, I will get the uh, plotting with new values, new default parameters that we have set. Okay, so this is what we have done is we have changed the default parameters. Now, if you want to revert back to the default parameters, you can use this command mpl. You have to matplotlib. You have to import matplotlib mpl.rc parameters that we saw. You have to update those parameters, the default RC parameters. Okay. If I run it, what I've done is I've resetted the original default parameters. And if I run it again, then as you can see, I've got the basic matplotlib parameters. So this is how you change the style. And if you don't want to do those, then Matplotlib has a new thing, which is style. It has different styles already available for you to use. You just have to use those style using a simple command, and by default, default variables will be changed accordingly. So if you run plt.style.available, it will show that these many other styles that are already available. Okay. So Tableau, Seaborn, ggplot, these are the different libraries, different they are also for plotting aside from Matplotlib, and you can also import their styles in Matplotlib to use whichever that you want. Okay, these are the styles available, and let's see how to use these styles that are already available. So the way that you use those styles is plt.style.use, and you mention the style name. Okay. If you want to use that Seaborn talk, then you mention this here. Now, as we saw earlier, what this will do is it will change the default parameters. So once you run this, and then again in that notebook, if you run anything, then everything will give you that everything will follow that same style. But if you don't want to do that, you want to just do it temporary for just one plot, then you can use this statement. If you use this with plt.style.context, here it was plt.style.use, it is with plt.style.context, and you again have to mention the style column. And in that tab, if you do any plotting, then that plot will follow this style. So by doing this, you just change the style for that single or anything you plot within that tab. You don't change the default parameters. So let's view different styles that are available. So here I will just create a function called hist_lines, which will give me a random histogram and a one line plots, so we can compare different styles. Okay. So here, as we saw earlier, this command will just reset the default parameters of the ASCII parameters if we have changed anything. If you also forget that, if you can't remember, then you can also search the command to reset the ASCII parameters. And this is the command. I have resetted the values. Okay. Now I will just call the function that we defined earlier called hist_lines. Now it will give me a random histogram function and a line plot. Okay. So this is how the default matplotlib style looks. Okay. Now let's explore the 538 style. So we have used with plt.style.context 538. Okay, so if you remember, if we use this command to change the style, it will change the style temporarily for anything that we plot within that tab. Okay, so this is the 538 style. Um, as you can see, the differences are huge. Like you can easily identify that these lines are, are shown a bit more. Borders are thickened. Colors are changed a bit. This is the 538 style that is already available. Then, if we use the ggplot style, as you can see here, again the style has changed, and we have changed the style temporarily. So this is how you use the available styles for your use. There are many dark theme lovers, and for those people, there is also dark background. Okay, as you can see here, this is how the dark background looks. Okay, so by just using available styles, you can change the styles, and you don't have to go on worrying about changing single little thing. You can just import all those styles as we saw earlier. These are some of the styles that are already available. You can cycle through those and you can use those accordingly. Okay. So yes, thank you guys. This is what we explored today about Matplotlib, and now we are going to explore some more with Seaborn. Okay, Seaborn is also another library, and now I will handle the dias to Parth. Okay, Parth.
Yes. Hello. Am I audible?
Yes, Parth.
Okay. So, as per our tradition, let us take a virtual photo. So, I would request everyone if you can turn on your camera so we can have a virtual photo of this workshop. And after that, we'll continue. So, I would request one and all to start your camera. सब सो गए क्या? So, let us continue with the workshop now. Keyur, you may take over now.
Thank you, Parth. Am I audible?
Yes, you are audible.
Is my screen visible?
Yes, it's visible.
Yeah, okay. So guys, let's move on to the Seaborn. So Seaborn is a library just like the Matplotlib, which provides high-level API for visualizing the data.
I think Keyur is facing some network issue. So just wait a second. He'll be back. Keyur, you're not audible.
Yeah, I'm audible now, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Yeah, so Seaborn has some inbuilt datasets to play around. To get the names of the dataset, you have to write sns.get dataset names, and a list of datasets available in the Seaborn are listed. Now to load this dataset, you have to write sns.load dataset and the name of the dataset. Now these datasets are available in the form of the pandas data frame, so you can apply all the pandas functions to it. Okay. Also, for the sake of this workshop, I have imported some custom datasets to play around with. Now moving on to the Seaborn. The first thing is that Seaborn provides us with a color palette to choose from. So this color palette we can customize according to our needs to show the colors in the charts which we are going to display. The first is the qualitative color plates, which are in by default color plate for the Seaborn. So you just have to write sns.color_palette, and you have to write sns.plplot for plotting that color palette, and you can see that the default color palette of the Seaborn is displayed. Okay, and you can see that each and every color is distinguishable from the another color. So Seaborn uses this color palette as default. Now we can have our own color palette. We can create it with the help of this, that we have to write sns.color_palette, and for a single color, if we want a single color to be there, so we have to write just a color name, that is blues. So sns.color_palette, and we will be plotting that, so we get a color palette of blues. Now if we want a color palette of reds, and we just have to write sns.color_palette reds. And we have a color palette of reds. Similarly, you can try on with the other color palettes also. Now, if we want a color palette with two colors ranging from one color to another color, so we can use diverging color palette. So we just have to write sns.color_palette. The command is same, but we have to specify two color names, means color code names, and we have to specify the number of colors to generate. So here we have write RD and BU. So RD stands for red and BU stands for blue, and 7 is the number of colors to generate. Okay. So here we have a color palette ranging from red to blue, and we are having 7 colors. Now moving on to the plotting in the Seaborn. So Seaborn allows us to very easily plot complex charts with the help of higher level API. So here we are using a Spotify dataset. In Spotify dataset, we have index column as date, and we are having 5 songs, and the number of views that song has got on that day, number of plays basically in the Spotify, right? So here I have customized the figure size to be 14 by 6, so we can have a clear figure. And I have set the title of the plot, and so we are plotting just a line plot. So to plot a line plot, we just have to write sns.lineplot and just give data as an input, and we don't have to do anything. We don't have to specify any other parameters, and Seaborn will do the rest of things under the hood. And we have this beautiful line plot. And the thing to notice is that Seaborn gives a more aesthetic look to our charts than the Matplotlib. Now, if we want to plot just two data, that is, let's say we have to plot just a shape of you and Despacito, then we just have to write that SNS for sns.lineplot and specify a shape of you as a data for the first one, and specify the label, and give Despacito as a data to the second one for the same command as above, and just plot. And I am just giving X label and Y label to the chart, which you have already learned in the Matplotlib. And executing that, we just get the two more clearer data view of the two songs, right? Now the next in the Seaborn is the bar chart. So bar chart basically gives us an idea about the center tendency of a numerical value by having this plotting this rectangle, and the height of the rectangle gives us an idea about the central tendency. Okay, so to plot a bar chart, we just have to write sns dot bar plot, Then we have to specify the x-axis, and note that the x-axis should be the categorical value here, and y-axis should be the numerical value, right? So we have given x-axis as a class and y-axis is a var, and we have used the Titanic data set here, and we have to specify. We had specified data frame which we are going to use. That data frame is loaded as df. We have to specify data frame as data, and when we have to plot, we write plt dot show. Okay, so this plots a bar chart for us. Now this line indicates a error estimate. Okay, so we can say that there may be some error from this range to this range for this particular data. That for the class is equal to first, the errors might be ranging from this to this. The next is the heat map. So heat map basically plots a two-dimensional matrices for a given data. So here we have a flight data set. In flight data set, let us see what we have in this flight data set. So as you can see, we have a flight data set in which index column is the month, that is month first, second, third, and columns are having the city names, and the values are the delay in hours that flight was in that month in that city. Okay? So here plt.figure, we are simply enlarging our plot. We are simply giving the title to our plot, and for generating the heat map, we simply have to write sns.heatmap, specify the data, and give anode is equal to true. Now this anode, if we didn't specify anode column, then we don't get these numbers in our heat map. So we have to specify anode is equal to true to get the numbers, and we have specified the x label as the airline, and executing that, we get this heat map plot. So in this heat map plot, we get values ranging from this lowest to higher in different color shades. So the lowest value will be in the form of dark blue, and the highest value will be in the form of white. So you can clearly see that 36 is the highest value. That is, in the month of June, in the city, the flight was delayed by 36 hours. Now next is the scatter plot. Scatter plot is basically a plot in which each and individual data points are plotted as a points, and there is no connection between that data points. Right? So for this scatter plot, we are using this insurance data set. In insurance data set, we are basically using body mass index and the charges. We are plotting the scatter plot of these two. So to plot a scatter plot, we have to write sns.scatterplot. We have to specify the x-axis, and in that x-axis we are specifying the body mass index data, and in y-axis we are specifying the charges, that for particular body mass index how much that customer is charged. Okay, so we have this beautiful scatter plot in that, and as you can see that for a higher body mass index, the customer is charged high, and for this lower body mass index, the customers are charged low for the insurance. Now next is that uh, the same is we are going to plot the same, that is scatter plot, but we are going to plot a regression line. So basically a regression line is a line which fits the data in the best way. Means for each and every point, the distance to that line is minimum. So for plotting the regression line, we simply have to write sns.regplot and specify the data as same, that x-axis, which is the body mass index, y-axis, which are the charges, and you get a scatter plot with a regression line. Now for the scatter plot, we can also differentiate the data based on a categorical column. So we simply have to, like above, simply have to plot a scatter plot specifying the x-axis, y-axis, and the data. The column on which you want to distinguish the data, you have to specify where in a hue. So here hue is equal to insurance data of smokers. So we are distinguishing the data based on the smokers, and we can have a scatter plot for both smokers and non-smokers distinguishability. And as we can see very clearly here, that smokers are charged more than the non-smoker for a particular insurance claim, which is obvious. Now, for that distinguished data, you can also plot a regression line separately for both the data. So you have to plot that with the help of SNS.lm plot, specifying X as body mass index, Y as the charges, U as a smoker, and we have to specify the data set because the syntax is a little bit of different. Here we are directly giving the data to the X and Y variable, while here we are just giving the column names to the X and Y and providing the data to the data variable. The next is the strip plot. Now strip plot is same like a scatter plot, but in scatter plot we have both the axes, that is X and Y, as a numerical axis, numerical value, while in the strip plot your x-axis can be a categorical value. So plotting the strip plot, we have SNS dot strip plot, where X we specify X as a categorical column, that is the smoker column, Y as a numerical column, that is charges column, and jitter value is some to have some randomization in the data so that all the data doesn't get plotted on a single line. Okay, so you have basically a strip plot, more like a scatter plot for a categorical value, and you can clearly tell from that smokers are charged more than the non-smokers. Now next comes the swarm plot. Now swarm plot is basically a strip plot, but in strip plot our points are overlapping on each other. So the swarm plot takes care under the hood and does not allow data to overlap on each other and plot them side by side. So we get a more beautiful version of the strip plot as a swarm plot, and the data given to the swarm plot is same as the strip plot. You just have to write swarm plot in place of strip plot. Now next, moving on to the distribution plots. So for the distribution plots, will be using iris dataset. In iris dataset, we have a species of iris flowers, and for that particular species, so we have sepal length and width and petal length and width of that particular species. So first, plotting the histogram. So plotting a histogram in Seaborn is very easy. We don't have to specify any parameters like number of beans and that all. We simply have to write sns.dist plot. We have to specify the data which we are going to plot, that is iris data and petal length. We will be plotting histogram of petal length, and we will be setting KDE to false. KDE basically means kernel density estimation. We will see further what it is. So plotting the histogram of a petal length, we get a chart as this, and so you can see that beans are automatically created under the hood by the Seaborn, and Seaborn gives the best possible view of your histograms based on your data. Now let us tweak with this KDE. So KDE in layman terms you can say as a smoothened histogram. So if we specify KDE is equal to true, then you get this smooth histogram. Now what basically this KDE means, that KDE use the probability density function to indicate that what is the probability of a data to lie in this range. So as you can see that for this there are a lot more than data, so we have a high probability. For this we have also more data, and we it also have more data beside it, so its probability is very high compared to this. And for here we have very low data, so probability of data lying here is very less. Now density plot. So we can also plot the KDE plot, that is this plot without that histogram bars. So we simply have to write sns.kde plot, then specify data as petal length and shade is equal to true. So what shade does is that it shades the region below the curve. If we specify shade is equal to false, then we simply get the line plot, right? Now we can also create a two-dimensional KDE plot. That is, until now we have only we were plotting on the base of petal length only. Now, if you want to plot based on sepal width and petal length of a particular flower, and we can use SNS.joint plot. Now, what happens in joint plot is that we specify the two data, that is for the x-axis and the y-axis, and specify the type of that plot. So here we are specifying x-axis as petal length, y-axis as sepal width, and kind is that KDE, that is kernel density estimation. So for x-axis, that is petal length, we have KDE chart here. For y-axis, that is sepal width, we have KDE chart here. And combining that both chart, we have the density chart or overall density chart here. So as you can see that for this peak and for this we have high density, so this is high density area for this peak, and for this peak we also have high density for both of the x-axis and y-axis, so we have high density area here. Now you can also specify the kind here, so we can also tweak around it. If we want histogram, then we can write hist, kind is equal to hist, and we have a histogram. And as the histogram is not like a continuous chart, so we have this box like density all over the chart. I'm still audible, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Now the next comes the color coded plots. Now what if we want like a KDE plots or a histogram plots of two or more variables in the different color schemes? So we will use the color coded plots. We will use the same dataset, that is iris species dataset. Now for the coded plots, we simply have to write each and every plot separately. That is for SNS disk plot, we have to write petal length. For iris setosa, then in the next line we have to write same thing, but we have to specify the data different. That is label is iris versicolor, and the data is iris versicolor. And for the third one, we will specify iris ver data, and iris label is iris virginica. We will specify KD is equal to false because we don't want KD chart over the histogram chart. And we can see that we have the chart for all the three different species of iris flower and comparison of the petal length. So we can see that this is iris setosa, this is iris versicolor, and this is iris virginica. So from this you can gain insights like for iris setosa you can clearly distinguish based on the petal length, while iris versicolor and iris virginica both have some common observation in the petal length, so you cannot really distinguish between them, but iris setosa can be clearly distinguished. Similarly, you can have KDE plot also. So you have to simply write sns.kde plot and specifies the data, all the three datas, and shade is equal to true if you want shade and false if you don't want, and you will have similar chart like the histogram above rather than KDE. Now next comes the box plot. A box plot gives us give us a what can we say, like huge insights about our data set. So this box plot looks like this. Now what this each value means that for a line in between we have a median. For a lower line we have a first quartile. For upper line we have a third quartile. For this lower whisker simply means the lowest possible value. Upper whisker means the highest possible value, and the data points above this upper whisker and lower whiskers are classified as the outliers. Outliers simply means that they are not following the trend of the data. So let us plot the box plot. So here we are using the tips dataset of the Seaborn, which is the inbuilt dataset. We simply have to write sns dot box plot, specify the x-axis, name of the x-axis, name of the y-axis, specify. So we get a box plot like this. Okay. Now what this data set basically means that these points are the outliers on the Thursday. These are also outliers on the Saturday. This is the median of the value. This is the median of the value. These all are the medians, and this is the first and third quartile. So basically, this outliers means that on that day, so there might be some error during recording of the data, or there might be some very generous customer who have given a huge tip. Okay. Now you can also plot this box plot in the horizontal manner. You just have to add this attribute orient is equal to h, that is horizontal, and your box plot will be plotted horizontally. But you have to take care of one thing, that is you have to specify x-axis as a tip and y-axis as a day, that is inverse to the first one, and you will have a box plot in horizontal manner. Now next comes the violin plot. Violin plot is same as the box plot, but in box plot we don't get any density, that how much observations are there for this value, that for tip is equal to 3, how much observations are there for a particular day. But violin plot provides us with the density estimation for a particular day. So the things are same with the violin plot. We have a median, we have the first quartile, we have the second quartile, we have a upper bound, we have a lower bound, we have a outliers above the upper bound and lower bound, and this line provides the density. Means if it is this, then there are huge number of observation for that value. If for here we are having low number of observations for that value. So we'll be plotting same for using that same tips data set. We will be plotting day against the total bill, and you can see our beautiful violin plots plotted. And for this, these are the outliers. This is the upper bound. This is the lower bound. For every observation we have. Okay. Now you can also specify the hue parameter for the tips for the violin plot if you want to compare the two plots side by side, right? So here we have specified hue as a gender. So you can see that on Thursday, on each day, both genders are plotted side by side. Now you can also plot them one onto each other for in a single violin. You just have to specify split is equal to true. The data is same. You have to use sns.violin plot, specify x-axis, specify y-axis, specify the hue on which you want to distinguish your data, and specify the data set, and specify split is equal to true, and you will have the data on which your chart is distinguished on the same violin. And you can gain insight from this observation. So you can see here that on Thursday, more number of men are paying high tips and more number of females are paying lower tips. On Friday, you can see that more females are paying tips than the men. On Saturday, you can see that men are paying lower number of tips than females, and on the Sunday, both are similar. Now, next, moving on to the statistical estimation. The first one is the count plot, and as the name suggests, it simply counts the number of observation of the data. So we will be using Titanic dataset. For a count plot, we simply have to write sns.countplot, specify the x. Here we are specifying x as a class, specifying data. Class is the first class, second class, third class based on the ticket. And here we are specifying the palette. That means what colors we want to show. And we get the count of the person, and we can see that in third class we have more number of customers than in first class. We have followed by the first class, and then at last we have the second class, which is having the least number of observations. Then comes the point plot. So in point plot, we simply have point probability of that point. So we are also using the Titanic dataset, and we are plotting gender versus survival, and we are distinguishes based on the class. So as we can see, that simply the female survivors are more like female are more likely to survive than the man. And we can also see that first class customers are more likely to survive than the third class customers. And here this line indicates the randomness or errors in the observation, that this observation can vary from this value to this value, and this is the likeliness or the probability, that is here 0.3 means 30%, there is 30% chance for a male in the first class to survive. Now if we want to plot one or more than if we want to plot more than one type of chart at a time, then we can use a factor plot. First, we will be plotting a single plot in the factor plot. So to plot a chart in factor plot, we simply have to write sns.factor plot, specify the x-axis, specify the y-axis, specify the column on which you want to distinguish your data, and specify the data. So here we are using the exercise dataset. In exercise dataset, we simply have the time period, and whether the person is walking at that time, and how much pulse walking, running, or is at rest at that time, and how much is the pulse of that person at that time. So by executing that, the factor plot by default plots a line plot. Now if we want a different plot, then we simply have to specify the kind, that all the data is same, just add an attribute kind is equal to violin or histogram or what you want, anything you want, and it will plot that kind of data based on your observation. Now if we want to plot more than two charts based on your categorical value, so here we have we want to plot time versus pulse based on kind, that is whether a person is walking, running, or at rest. We want to plot as a violin, and we want two separate plots based on the diet. So for we have two plots, that is for diet is equal to no fat and diet is equal to low fat. We have to specify the data frame which we are going to use, and we will get two plots side by side based on your categorical column, that is no fat and low fat. And you can see that for the persons who are having low fat, no fat, have higher pulse when they are running, and which are having low fat diet are having low pulses when they are running. Now moving on, if we want to plot each and every column against each other in our data set, then we can use a pairwise relationship plot. Here we are using the iris dataset. Here we are setting the style of the Seaborn to ticks. If we don't specify ticks, then we have some grid-like structure in the background. So we want some plain background in the plain background for the chart. So we have set styles to ticks. And for plotting the chart, we have sns.pairplot. We have to specify that our data, that is df. We have to specify the hue, that data on which we want to distinguish our observations. We have to specify diag kind, that is what kind of plot we want on our diagonal. Then we have to specify kind, that is apart from diagonal, what kind of plotting you want. So here we have specified scatter for the non-diagonal and KD for the diagonal. We have specified palette to be HUSL. So we have specified our custom color palette to use for this plotting. And you get a plot that is plot against each other. That is for you have plot for sepal width against sepal petal length. You have plot of sepal width against sepal width. You have plot of sepal width against sepal length. So you have plot of each and every column with each other. Now what if we want our plot, that for diagonal we want some plot, for values below diagonal we want other plot, and for values above diagonal we want some other plot. So we simply have to create a grid. First we will be loading our dataset, that is iris dataset. Then we will be creating a grid for that dataset. So we have to simply write sns.pairGrid, specify our data frame. Then we have to write g.map upper for specifying the plot in the upper region. So here we want scatter plot in the upper region. G.map lower. We have specified sns.line plot means we want line plot in the lower region, and g.map diag we have specified sns.hist plot, that is g.map g.map diag sns.hist plot, and plotting this we get histogram on the diagonal element, scatter plot on the upper elements of the diagonal, and line plot on the lower elements of diagonal. With this, we'll be concluding this workshop. Now, this is not the end of the Seaborn. You can always take in around with the Seaborn. There are many other plots which may suit your data set and that all. And you can also use matplotlib features in the Seaborn also. So here I have used plt.show. So Seaborn is itself is built on the matplotlib. So you can use matplotlib customization on the Seaborn also. So doing this, I am.
Okay, so thank you, Kayur, for the wonderful session. And if you guys do have any question, then you may ask. Our speakers are ready to answer. You can even write the question in the chat box. Okay, so this was the end of our data visualization and data analytics workshop series. And I hope you all would have find this insightful. And with this, you may start your career hunch or something like courses in the field of data science. If you do have any question regarding the data science stream, then you may ask us on dsc@scat.ac.in. So thank you everyone, and happy Diwali. Now the sessions that we'll be having will be all after Diwali. So stay tuned with us and keep learning.